Finishing the match strongly for England was replacement Jamie George. The 28-year-old has been a key part of Eddie Jones' side since his tenure began, but the hooker wasn't always destined for the front row.
When I was growing up as a kid, I played like the majority of my rugby in the back line. Obviously, I was a local boy to Saracens, so I guess the Thomas Castagnets of the world, slightly different body shape to him. But I played a lot of my rugby at sort of fly half, inside centre, up until about 14 really. So I didn't really have a hooker to idolise it on. I guess having worked with Schalk, Brits and Smit, those two guys were probably, from playing hooker, they sort of moulded the way that I play now, I guess. With John, particularly around the scrum, he was probably the best scrummaging hooker that I've ever played against, or with and against. He was just incredible and, fountain of knowledge in terms of his leadership and the way that he carried himself, how humble he was. On the flip side of that, Schalk, just ridiculous talent, but also, he just constantly spoken about expressing himself on the field and, having fun with it and enjoying it. I think you see that in the way that he plays, and that sort of came across with me, that resonated with me in terms of his ball playing ability, the way that he just constantly wants the ball. He's constantly clapping, putting his hand up because he wants the ball the whole time. So, I guess I see part of myself in both of them.
Those early influences have had a lasting effect on George, but it's his all-round ability that has seen him rise from Saracens Academy to England International and starting Lions hooker.
The fundamentals of line-out throwing, scrummaging, striking is coming in a lot more nowadays. But then I think around the field, generally what hookers are nowadays are very energetic people, an extra back rower, some people call it. And that can manipulate in many different ways. So the ability to be comfortable on the ball, but also get through the hard yards and the hard work is something that's very important. It is an evolution of the game. I think often what you'd find is, generally it was fly halves or first receivers taking the ball to the line and then pulling the ball back behind a hard runner. But the more that you can do it off forwards, I think it just means that you can have your fly half one out and he then can distribute the ball off the back of it. I see it as a strength of mine. I like getting my hands on the ball and I like being able to make a decision, and you've got a player running off my shoulder, but I've also got an option to pull the ball back to off an Owen out the back or one of the other guys. Something that I always enjoy doing, and I try and, like I said, try and get my hands on the ball as much as I can, and to put myself in a position to try and make good decisions, because that's what I want to do.
And hungry for more success, George is constantly engaged in the never-ending pursuit of perfection.
I'm a big believer that you can never sit still, and even if you're playing well, there's constantly areas for you to grow, and you're a product of your environment at the end of the day, and I've always been at Saracens and I've been very lucky in that respect. We're an environment that is constantly looking to take things to the next level. The next level, we're never happy. We won the double, we wanted to do it again the next year, and all the rest of it. So, we're constantly striving for excellence, and when you're working every day with the likes of Mara, Turge and George and Owen and Billy and Mako and all the rest of it, those guys have an incredible work ethic, and I think it's so important that those guys drag the rest of us along with them, and we all go head down and work hard.